It is the Priced Up Cheltenham preview. We're nearly there. Seems like the greatest expectation for Cheltenham in many, many years. And we're only in Gordon Elliot's house. And we've actually stopped admiring the house now. It took us that long to walk around it, get the tour and all that. Gordon, how are you?
Yeah, good, yeah.
You're relaxed ahead of Cheltenham?
Yeah, looking forward to it. We're a few days out now. Obviously, we've Thursday and Friday's horses to work yet. So hopefully everything gets there in one piece.
And you've had a good season?
Great season, yeah. Delighted. Horses are running well. Listen, yeah, looking forward to it.
How big is Cheltenham in the overall scheme of things for you?
Listen, Cheltenham is where we all want to have winners. It's the Olympics of racing, so yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm not sure who the biggest star of the show is here, because Johnny Dineen, from up in the ante, who's going to be actually standing one of the good pitches at Cheltenham for Paul Byrne and the lads. Welcome to the show.
Cheers, thanks very much, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, what's your position, Andy Post, now in general?
Well, my own personal positions are all poor. They're either in the bin or about to be put in.
Honesty policy, to borrow the name of a good horse here. The honesty is the best way to talk about it.
Yeah, look, the stuff I've had a bit of luck over the years, Anti-Post, but this year it's not looking good for me anyway. Some of the horses either are wrong races or withdrawn or that kind of stuff, or not good enough as well, a few of them. So, look, I might rescue it yet, but I'll need a bit of a fluke to get out of trouble anyway.
And Priced Up's Stephen Power, aka the Blogger. What are you going to be at next week? It's going to be an interesting week for you, apparently.
Yeah, the biggest week of my year as a National Hunt fan. I'll be looking to break my pay-per-view record of 200 million views inside the 28 days. So I'll be creating all kinds of carnage. Looking forward to soaking up the atmosphere as always. Hopefully seeing a good performance from a great horse. And it's going to be all systems go, Johnny. Hopefully it won't be as bad as last year, because that was a bloodbath.
That's, I like a bit of honesty. Where do you watch the racing day to day?
I walk down to the track for every race. Look, my kind of day goes from the weigh room to the parade ring to the saddling boxes down to watch it on the track. So it's very, very, very straightforward.
So you were caught me here because I have the bike outside and Strava shows you your heart rate. What was your heart rate going fastest in Cheltenham in all your lifetime? Was it Don Cossack or was it?
I'd say Wood, who went on to the last year. I waited that long for a winner.
Really?
Well, I don't know, but listen, that's the game we're in, isn't it? I look at it, you'd probably have to say Don Cossack in the Gold Cup was probably one of the most special days we had there, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, let's get straight into it, and we're going to start with the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Before we look at prices, Johnny, I don't think I've looked forward to a race at Cheltenham nearly as much as this race. Even without the mares in it, it's incredible this year. Yeah,
very deep contest, very deep. You could give anyone of anything under 20 to 1, you could make probably some sort of a case for it, right? Yeah, like it is a really, really open race, and maybe a vulnerable enough favourite to me anyway, in around 2 to 194. That looks plenty short of. It's very hard to equate the English form with Irish form, but look, if there is a good English horse in the race, it's probably Old Park Star, but I have a feeling that he's just a very good horse, but I think a smart, really top horse will take him out. I'm not saying he'll fall out of the telly or anything like that, but I don't think he'll win at the same time.
What do you like?
I don't know. That's a good question.
2 to 1 Old Park Star, 4 to 1 Talk to Talk, 9 to 2 Mighty Park. We're not sure where he runs, and Gordon's El Kairos, 11 to 2, 7's Bar.
Yeah, look, I mean, do I like anything? There's supposed to be a goodish mention for Leader Dahlia, or Willie Mullins' horse. That's supposed to have been working pretty decent. Look, you could make a case for. Definitely can make a case for Talk to Talk. El Kairos is a smart horse. There's 4 or 5 good horses here, and there's other horses, lurkers as well. Even some of the English ones like Idaho Sun and
My Daddy Paddy's not totally out of it.
Probably not, but I don't think a bridle horse will win this myself. I have a feeling they won't. I think you'll need to be tough to get by the likes of Talk to Talk and maybe Old Park Star. But I just get a little vibe from reading little bits and pieces, picking up that they think that Old Park Star is a very good horse without being a real top, like an Altia or a Shishkin or one of those. And I have a feeling that they don't think he's unbeatable anyway. At the price he's well worth taking on, I think he is anyway.
What's your take on the opposition before we get to El Kairos?
I think it's a very competitive race. I'd probably agree with exactly what Johnny's saying. Old Park Star looks like the pick of the English. He looks like more workman like horse. I think he could be horse that you could see him being a really good stayer down the road. I think he'll suit a lot of the Irish horses. He'll go along and he'll kick on down the hill, looking at his style of racing. Look at Willie, he's that many left in it, it's hard to know what he'll run. Talk to Talk, he hasn't done much wrong. Like he was going to win in Leopardstown, and then he obviously just got up and nailed Ballyfad on the line in DRF. For me, he probably sets the standard of the Irish horses, with what he's done. My horse Talk the Talk, or Alcaraz, he's in very good form. I mean, if he'd have stood up in Leopardstown at Christmas, he'd have probably went to the RF, and the conversation would be a lot easier now to be having. But he didn't, and we went to Thurles for a Mickey Mouse race, and ground was horrible. You know, even when
We're very nervous.
The day I was him and home when I should even run him, but just the way it was working, I didn't want to be running him too close to Cheltenham. But look, job done. He did make a mistake at the last, but he scored very well this morning. He's in good form. I think he's a big chance. But I don't think there's any real stick-out horse in it. I would agree with Johnny. I don't think there's anything. You know, sometimes you've gone there, Willie's had a yoke money on, or an Alti, or a Shishkin, or whatever.
Constitution Hill even, yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's anything of that calibre in the race. There could be, we might be saying next Tuesday evening, wow.
Yeah, of course.
But I think anything there, as you say, in the first 6 or 7 in the betting has a chance.
Could El Kairos be the wow?
That's the type of horse he is, the way he races. He does
Ground is drying out.
Yeah, it'll suit him. He does everything very easy at home. Very, very fast horse. You know, Jack Kennedy doesn't get off too many horses smiling, and he rides this at most of his work. He's mad about him. I hope to go a good gallop, and you know, we won't be going to the last if he's good enough, and hopefully he'll run a big race.
Yeah, I was on a show last week, and I got the impression Mighty Park is considered better than Leader Dahlia. I'm with Johnny Dineen. I quite like Leader Dahlia at the prices, but I'd have some reservations. Blogger, the El Kairos ride is going to be fascinating to watch, because he does stay. It's not like he doesn't stay, because he stays well.
Yeah, he's a very smart horse. I mean, how David Maxwell got him beat in the bumper, God only knows. It was a painful watch for those that backed him. Gordon, would he be one of the fastest novices that you've ever trained?
I think Lebec was bang up there with him. I think Jack's on has been quoted as saying it. But look, he's very quick. You know, I think there won't be too many going better than going to the last. From the last to the line, then no one knows, because we haven't got to see him from. You know, Thurles was a no race. I do love in Thurles the way he let back on it, and hit the line strong.
Jack was kind of blaming himself, was he, after that?
Look, he was, but that's past tense. You know what I mean? Like a Baddy Fad, depending on ground, if it keeps drying out, he could step out. And I run a horse called Cocktail Brute, who actually bled at Christmas with a good run the last day behind Talk the Talk. I think at a massive price, he could be 60 to 1. He could have an each way chance. But back to David Maxwell. I don't agree with what you're saying. Man put his money down. He pays his bills. Yeah. I think all credit has to go to him. He didn't do much wrong on the horse. If you back the horse, I'd call you the mug. Yeah. Because David Maxwell buys the horses for the fun, and he had so much fun in them.
Yeah. What was he?
Come out boxing there.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, in first I'd agree with Gordon. Like, if the Corinthians want to get involved in horses, it's great. What was he like when you got him? Were you like, wow?
He's not an impressive horse to look at.
Yeah.
He's not a big wow horse. If you see him in Cheltenham now, he's not a horse you'll say he's ever going to be a Gold Cup horse or a big 3 mile chaser. You know, he's a flashy hurdle horse, and that's the type of horse we bought. Yeah. But I'm happy with what he's doing, and he's in good form. But it's a supreme novice. We're not going to Thurles for a novice hurdle, you know.
But Blogger, this is what Cheltenham should be about. Like,
absolutely.
Like this supreme. Like, I don't like watching races where if you have inside information, this game is gone. Like, you know, we know what's going to win this. Anton could win this of the top 7 or 8 in the betting, really.
You wouldn't be surprised by any horse in the race. For me personally, I think people are underplaying Old Park Star's 3 wins this season. He doesn't need to be a superstar. He doesn't need to be a Constitution Hill or an Altior to win this. It could be a 155 horse and scrape home. I think the course and distance form there's there for all to see. I love what he done at Cheltenham. I love what he done at Haydock, and I think he sets a standard. I think the faster they go, the easier he'll win. He's a winner for me.
So Willie Mullins leaves it late regarding decisions. Where will you leave it as late as possible regarding beautiful Romeo Coolio?
Look, I think we will, to be honest. I'm nervous at 2 miles, you know, especially the way the ground is drying up. If you don't run more 2, you're stepping out to 3, which probably isn't a worry either for me. But it's just doing it at this stage of his career isn't always ideal when going from I suppose, though, he did win over 2-5 in Fairyhouse, and don't know if you remember on the day, like, he hit the line strong. He went by the line very, very strong.
Weirdly, you'd like a race over 2.5, I suppose, at Cheltenham.
You would, but it's not there. If I'm being honest, I am nervous about the Arkle. I think he couldn't beat the favourites, you know, in the Supreme Novice last year. Lambo obviously won an open company the last day, and even at 2 miles in Leopardstown, we struggled to beat the filly. We got up to beat her over 2 mile 1 and a bit. So for me, I think the Arkle, if we run it, I think we've an each way chance.
Yeah. How did he come out of that battle at Leopardstown?
He came out of the race well. He looks great. He's in good form. Obviously, you never know if he'll run them again, but he seems well and he's in good form.
Johnny Dineen, if you were to choose a prep, 3 grade ones and a hard race the last day, or 1 beginner's chase in November?
Look, I think the 1 beginner's chase is definitely a negative.
People say Willie Mullins trains him, but it doesn't matter who trains him. He's had 1 beginner's chase, like, in my view.
And even at that, there was a solo mission at the same time. Sure, every horse in them races are not even, they're trying their best to get as far away from him as possible. You know what I mean? A bit like Final Demand. And, you don't want to finish close to Cope the Board. So it's very easy for them horses to look the real deal.
He's 6-4. He's been well backed in recent days, well backed now.
Look, he's a good horse, of course he is. But he has... could even boil over. He wears hoods and all them types of things.
Bombed a punch down last year.
He did, yeah. I mean, I don't know. He wouldn't be for me now at the same time. I think Lolamba's more solid than Copic the Board. Lolamba is a smart horse. But I suppose you could say the Triumph Hurdle, or the best horse in the Triumph Hurdle against the best horse in the Supreme. The following year, whether they met in the Champion Hurdle or the Arkle, you'd probably be angling towards the Supreme horse, wouldn't you? Really, I suppose you would say that if they met in a year's time, you'd go for the Supreme horse to beat the Arkle or the Triumph Hurdle horse. But look, I do think the Lamb is a smart horse. The fact that he's 3 runs, he's been out and up and going. The one thing I like about the Lamb is he's able to get down and dirty, and if he's there hanging around turning in, his problem is going to be early in the race.
He's a bit odd in that regard, because he's like as if he's kind of getting out of bed, and he's not that fast at his fences early on, but he warms up.
He does, but he's a touch of Altior and Shishkin about him. So he's not going that great, and the next thing he suddenly clicks on the bridle and his races are over. So he is a dangerous horse in the race, and I do think if he can lie up for the first 4 fences, that's going to be a problem maybe for Romeo Coolio too, to actually hang in the race, you know, that kind of way, because there'll probably be plenty pace there. But I thought Romeo Coolio had a good chance, but myself, I'm on a Menti post, but I have it written off because I don't really fancy him now, to be honest. I do think Gordon's a good
win
player.
each way.
Oh, win, yeah. I never back horses each way anti-post, because if you lose once, you're going to lose twice. But look, I do think the Lamb is the most solid one. I think his prep is better, and the fact that I wouldn't be worried about his jump. You know, I'd just be worried about him for the first 4 fences.
What if Copic de Boer starts winging out in front and he's losing ground?
What about if they're picking him up off the ground too? You know, like if is a huge word in racing, as you know, and like a lot of ifs and buts going on. Like Card G, there's going to be plenty of pace here too. Like working on their own in Punchestown, every horse is going to look good there, really, isn't it? I think if they're a good horse going out there, it's been able to do it in the middle of horses is just a big.
I seen Capac the Board School and Ferry was actually after Punchestown.
Yeah,
he looked like he jumped well and he did hit the line strong. But I actually think the faster to go, it'll suit Lolamba better.
Yes.
If he can hold his position early through the race, he did jump a bit big for me early.
Right.
The last day, but I think Nicky's horse, if he gets into a rhythm, and he's been firing distance, as you say, we know he can get down and dirty.
Yes.
And he from the turn in to the line. I think if Lolamba is close, he's the one that's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I do too. I just about favour him myself.
I'd agree, yeah. Blogger?
Yeah, great race. Fair play to Gordon. He's won 3 grade ones with Romeo Coolio already. Most trainers would be over the moon at that, and his season isn't over. He's been some horse this year. I'm a Luamba fanboy. I have been since he won his first race at Ascot, beating Mondo Man. I went down to Henderson's to see him. He's the most athletic, gorgeous horse you could see. He's a stunner to look at. And everything he's done this season, you can see the way Nicky's trained him. It's to build and to build and to build. And the Arkle coming up now, I think it's his day. I think the faster they go, it will get him into a good rhythm. I know I'm good friends with David McCarthy. The vibes coming out of Willie Mullins are Copac the Boards cannot and will not be beat. It's unbelievable how confident they are.
I haven't heard Willie say that, no, but...
Yeah, I've heard it from the boys, and they keep telling me, and they've been telling me for 2 weeks, and they've all been piling on more and more.
I thought Majbra couldn't be beaten this last year. And inexperience is one thing. Like, he still made a terrible mistake.
Two terrible mistakes.
It's an Arkle, like, you have to jump.
You do have to jump, and for that reason, for me, it's all about Luamba. I think he'll be there 2 out, and I think he'll power away to the line. And I think the more he drifts in the market, the more I'm going to have on.
Beautiful. That might be a bit of an insight into Blogger next week in terms of the double on day one. We'll talk about the Fred Winter at the end of day one. Gordon has interesting entries in that. Champion Hurdle. He's not running the race, but it would have been something if he had been there instead of being paraded Constitution Hill.
Yeah, just it. You know, I mean, that's the way the dice went. But they had no choice really. I think in the call out today, it was a very difficult thing to persevere with him. And the downside was just far too much, I think, for racing and for the horse in particular. So I think the general consensus now is that they did make the right decision in maybe abandoning the.
Do you reckon?
I think it is really. Yeah. I'm just the vibe I'm getting from people.
Apparently he didn't school well, in fairness.
Yeah, well, sure, if he didn't school well, you couldn't put him in a champion hurdle then, could you? Like, the way I look at it, he was very lucky to be intact even at this stage. Even he was like throwing himself into the middle of hurdles. Because a miracle he wasn't badly hurt already, so I don't think he'll go to the well anymore.
Okay, fair enough. Blogger, what was your take on it all?
I think if he was an Irish horse, he'd be running.
100%.
What do you reckon, Gordon?
Look, I suppose, probably my first thoughts on her, if he was mine, I'd have ran him, but I totally understand the position Nicky's in. He's kind of got backed into a corner that he's nothing to gain and everything to lose. But listen, if that last schooling session went like people are saying it went, well, then I think they made the right decision. And looking, Nicky Henderson's had to give a lot longer than any of us, so he wasn't going to walk away from a horse that probably looked like he was going to be short price favourite for a champion hurdle and what he done on the flat in his last run. So, look, you'd probably say he's made the right decision, but disappointing for the game.
Would he be one of the greatest you've seen?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Wow.
Would it be for you?
In terms of raw ability, yeah, definitely. Yeah, even the performance he's done the all-weather was extraordinary for a 9-year-old making his flat debut. It's decent horses. Yeah, interesting, Gordon.
Johnny, what would you think?
I think his performances in the Supreme and the Champion Hurdle were as good as I've seen.
Wow, yeah, but I mean, of late.
Well, he hasn't gotten around.
He's not finishing of late.
Yeah, but then we're talking about.
Yeah, he has to get around. Like, if you can't be considered a brilliant hurdler when you can't jump.
Like, he's no Isterback or you know.
Well, he didn't do it repeatedly.
No, exactly. That's for me to say he's one of the greatest. I mean, as you say, what he done in his early days was wow. But I mean, we could have any one of 5 or 10 horses we could say that about.
There'll be people saying, the mare's Brighter's age, gone Cheltenham twice and beaten twice, can't have her. I wouldn't agree with that. What's your take on her? Where's she at?
It's not ideal, but she's in great form. She worked yesterday morning. She worked very, very well. We're very happy with her. But she's been to Cheltenham twice and got beaten. First day, I think, Jack and Paul thought it each other to beat, and the mare came and bet both of them. The last day she was beat after the second hurdle. I stood at the last hurdle that day, and I knew coming to it, she wasn't travelling. She wasn't going at all. We came home, we had a problem, but she's in good form now. She's had a great preparation. She's only 2 runs going into the race. I would like to see it drying up too much now on Tuesday, which I don't think it will. It's going to start off on the good to soft side, Happy to see Paul Nicholls' horse in the race because it looks like he might put a bit of pace into the race.
Because you don't want to be too tactical in that.
Well, we won't be tactical. We'll keep it simple. We'll pop out. If we're in front or upside or second or third, we're not going to be any further back. But at least if you know there's something to go forward, it'll make it a good, honest race where I couldn't see where the pace in the race was if Nicholls' horse wasn't, I just can't remember what his name is, wasn't supplemented.
Tudor County,
yeah. 16 to 1.
He mightn't even make the running, but he made it.
He did indeed.
He made it the last day, so I'm sure he's going to go forward.
How does she compare to Apple's Jade?
She's a monster compared to Apple's Jade. Apple's Jade was not flashy, but very, very workmanlike. But she won from 2 to 3. She's... I think we're sitting here in the kitchen here. I've only a picture of one horse in my house and 2 actually. I got a present of 1, but it's only one I put up is Apple's Jade. You know what I mean? Like, brighter days ahead is very, very good. The plan wasn't to be staying hurdling this year. She was entered to go chase, and then she pulled the muscle. I'm really looking forward to the race. I think she has a chance. Look at the new line of Skeletons. He's probably the talking horse. He's the horse, I suppose. He's the one unexposed horse in the race. But if you go back to his form last year in the Turners, is it good enough?
Debatable.
Debatable.
Yeah.
The race hasn't really worked out.
No, at all. Do you know, like if the race in Newcastle, unfortunately, he fell. You don't know where he was going to win or not. And the last day in Cheltenham, it was a cat and mouse race. So,
but want him to get round kind of and jump as well.
He's probably the horse, the unexposed horse in the race, though. For me, that could be open to the most improvement. Is what I'm trying to say. Lossy amount, I suppose, is the interesting one.
She won't run, will she?
If she was mine, I'd run her.
You would?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
But if she's mine, I'd run her. I think it's an open champion hurdle, and we'll see.
Johnny Dineen.
Yeah, look, I think unexposed is good in a race like this, and that's why I'd be leaning towards the new line. I do think he's a young horse on the way up.
Will he have the tactical speed?
I think he will. I think going from the front in the fighting fifth didn't suit him at all when he's left in front by Constitution 3 was jinking at hurdles down the back straight and everything there, and then threw himself down to the left-hand side of the second last and got rid of the rider. I wouldn't mind what he did the last day. When he was just making sure that having a run, maybe getting him round it in one piece. I do think he's a smart horse. I don't think it's a vintage race, with all due respect of the other horses in the race. Brighter days ahead. I do think she probably wants slower surface at her peak. You know what I mean? And it is hard to win races at Cheltenham if everything isn't in your favour. That's what I think anyway. Look, I do think Brighter days ahead, obviously she's a chance, of course she has. But there's not a lot of depth in there. You're quickly into like Poniris here. I think that's very hard to fancy myself. It's only like 8 and 10 to 1.
Hard to fancy last year as well.
I suppose it was, yeah. Golden Ace surely won't get the look.
What about Amsterdam? People are laughing at me. I feel if he gets a gallop on nice ground, I think
you couldn't have that in your mind, could you? I couldn't fancy that.
He's a headbanger, isn't he?
I think he is. I don't know as he got the ability to.
Maybe he doesn't have the ability now. That might be a problem.
They thought he had either. Look, I do think the new line. I can see him. Okay, he's steppy at hurdles, and it's not 1,001 that he falls, of course, but because he's looking not to fall at the last year, box to get out the other side of it. But I do think this race will be run to suit him. I can see him coming down to the last and one good jump and he'll win.
The new line at the moment, 15 to 8. We need to get over the fact that Constitution Hill isn't there and admire what is still a fascinating race, Blogger. What do you like?
Yeah, listen, I think the ground's going to be too fast for Brighter days ahead. If she does win, I'll be absolutely delighted. It won't be fast. It'll be good
Have you ever been
soft.
to Cheltenham on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Have you ever walked out onto the track?
No, I haven't.
To be honest, good to soft won't bother me at all.
Right.
I just hope it's an end-to-end race.
Yeah.
If there's no pace in the race, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
I still can't, Johnny or yourself or none of you said, I just still think when the time comes, Willie could run the mare.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I do too.
Absolutely.
I do too.
I think he could run her, like, you know.
Absolutely.
You look at what Stateman done last year. They had him completely written off. I know he fell at the last, but he was going to win 10 lengths.
Absolutely.
Anyway, look, we'll see.
You know,
just her performance the last day now was very worrying. Like, with the view to this race last time out, even if she's not quick enough in the first place, that was worrying.
yeah, look, it was, but the ground was desperate in the hurdle course in that.
Never went here.
I mean, she has beaten by the days at Christmas. Like, to me, there's not a lot between. Lassie Moulton by the days ahead. And I'm told if she does run it, she'll come in with cheek pieces on her. So that might make a difference to her, to what way she'll perform too. I'd say she's deadly dangerous if she does run, to be honest.
11 to 4, second favourite at the moment, but we will see what will run. Fascinating champion her leading without Constitution Hill. I don't know about the lads, but I'm actually looking forward to the Fred Winter nearly as much as any race in the whole festival. It's always a race I've been a fan of. Was a fan of Barbizon, and then, I don't know, obviously the wheels have come off a little bit. You have Combs as well in Hardy stuff in it, Lynch's knock, Wackerstone, lower down. Maybe not your strongest team. What do you think at this stage?
I think, to be honest, I don't think I've anything that well really handicapped in the race, if I'm being honest. I think if you're talking about the Fred Winter being one of your most favourite races at the Cheltenham Festival, I don't know.
From a betting perspective. Yeah, I think there are a lot of horses lurking that have been laid out.
Yeah, to be honest.
Because a lot of the handicaps now, all the horses are handicapped to the hills.
Yeah, I don't think I've anything that well handicapped. I could run probably 4 in it. Barbizon, he was good the first day in Navan. He actually had a wind operation. He had an okay run the last day in Leopardstown, and he'd have come on from it. But I'm not sure he's well enough handicapped to win it, to be honest.
What else are you looking forward to on day one? We have the Ultima 320, and then we have the Sun Racing Plate Handicap Chase and the National Hunt Challengers Cup Handicap Chase. You're strongly represented throughout the day.
Yeah, I'd say more not as strong in the handicaps, to be honest, on day one. They have runners in all the races, but I'd probably just be watching them, to be honest. Okay,
interesting. I like Saratoga and the Fred Winter, but I think there are, he's an obvious half-brother to Brazil who beat Gaelic Warrior in the race, but that race, Johnny Dineen, a lot of horses lurking, like even Genealogy. Joseph has 2 or 3 in it. What do you like in the rest of the card on day one?
That race you're talking about is very open, is right. Yeah. Give that horse a little chance. Mustang, De Bruyne, horse of Henderson's, give that a squeak. That ran well against older horses in Kempton. I do think Iroko has a big chance over Jaguar, maybe in the Ultima. The last race is the 3 mile and 6 handicap chase. That's a tough race too. It's given maybe one big bang a little chance, and the other race what's the other race? The cross country? No, that's.
Novice handicap 3 miles.
Yeah, the 3-6.
That's the last race. That's one.
And then the race before that, it's kind of handicap heavy. The the 2.5 mile race, the Premier Handicap, 150 grand Sun Racing Plate Handicap Chase.
Yeah, I don't have any huge opinion in that, to be honest.
I'd be sort of looking at wait for declarations of these races anyway, and just see what's running. Blogger, what else on day one?
Yeah, very tough. I'm a big fan of Charles Burns' horse in the Fred Winter, Munzif, who's got a few lengths to make up with Saratoga.
Well, if the ground continues to dry out, I do believe, as much as Gordon says it will be good to soft, that'll be a massive help for him.
Yeah, high-class flat horse, had some good turn of foot over the flat there. I thought he was given a nice quiet ride last time out. He's £4 better off with Saratoga. Been well backed in recent weeks. He's one I like. I'm not sure if Johnny Who will line up in the Ultima. If he does, I'm going to be sticking to him like a fly on shit. He's a horse who's absolutely destroyed me over the years, but I know there's a big run in this horse. He ran a blinder at Ascot behind Deep Cave this year where he made up 7 lengths jump in the last, and he's one I like. The other 2 handicaps on the back of the card there, I like Will the Wise for Gavin Cromwell in the plate off a 139, had a really good run when he was 4th at Navan in the 50 grand race, which Gordon had a few runners in. Gets off a 139. He's been trained for the race. I think he'll run a big one too.
Great stuff, Blogger. Yeah, that's day one, and I can't wait no more than everyone else. On to day 2 though, and the Cheltenham week just continues to bring these brilliant races at Grade 1 level. The Turner's Novice Hurdle. We'll start with you, Johnny Dineen, on this one. Is it possible people don't appreciate how good a trainer Paul Nicholls is in a way that no drama this end after he won the last, it was 3-1 generally. He's a good bit bigger now. I'm not exactly sure why, and I know Mighty Park's in the race. We're not exactly sure what to run against him, but he rates this horse so highly.
Yeah, look, he's a good chance. I mean, the form of the race got a timely boost on Saturday with Montemaris winning, and Kelso won well too. Up to that, the Cheltenham Hurdle looked a pretty ordinary race. I think his best form before that was probably against Irish horses in
Heads Up,
and King's Bucks. Like, after saying that, like, Heads Up, if it does run in the Supreme, it's going to be 25 or 23-1.
Maybe
King's Bucks is going to be the 20-1 shot in the Albert Bartlett. So he said there's a lot better Irish horses to come now that he's going to have to take care of. But look, he's a good horse. No question out about it. I suppose Paul Nicholls isn't getting his hands on really good horses that much anymore, so he looks like the stable star. There's a few things against him. I suppose there's a bit of a whiff of maybe Hermé Allen and Brave Man's Game off him that he's going to come up that bit short. No, like, he's not going to follow the back of the telly either, no, but he will run a respectable race. But you'd be thinking that there'd be some Irish horse somewhere that might be able to take him out.
Is it Mighty Park? The half brother to Might Bite, who was by Scorpion. This lad is upgraded. He's by walking the park and they rave about him.
Yeah, but I'd say that he's more likely to run the Supreme now than run here. So, like, there's no standout Irish horse in the race. There's a whole host of goodish Irish horses.
Do you like Gordon's?
Yeah, they've 2 respectable, like Ballyfed and Skylar horses. They're 2 good horses, yeah. Them and about 5 other ones that you would say have decent chances. Look, I wouldn't say No Drama this end won't win, but I think something will beat him at the same time. Like, he did run in the Cheltenham bumper. I know he's probably not a bumper horse, but he was only 8 or 9 at the same time. Like, it's the one time he's met real top horses, and he came up that bit short. So, look, he has a chance, but without having a big... He's probably fair enough price now, 92. Because, like, when he was 3-1, you were expecting something to parachute in here and be 7-4 favourite. That didn't happen. He's still, like, probably the horse to beat, and yet he's 1.5 bigger. If you fancy him, he's probably fair price. I personally think something will beat him. Don't know what though.
Start 2 though?
Look, chance and there's sober. There's a whole host of horses here for chance. So it's as nearly as competitive as the first race. The Supreme only is probably not as good a race.
Blogger.
I think No Drama this end 3 from 3 this year. It's not often you hear Paul Nicholls come out and actually put his heart on the line, and he really done that with this horse.
Comparison to Denman, in a way.
He does, and fair play to him. You know, it's nice to hear a trainer pipe up and actually say what they feel, because it's what the game needs. I thought it was really impressive when he won at Sandown. Wasn't that taken by the way he won last time out, but I think Harry Cobden got off and said he was just looking after the horse.
Yeah.
You know, I think, he's been working the house down there at Ditchett, and there's a lot of confidence there. I think he's being overlooked by the market. I think it could be a lot shorter. If he was trained by an Irish trainer, he'd definitely be shorter in the market.
I completely agree with you there. I think, like, Paul Nicholls is an excellent trainer. It's just he doesn't have the ammunition necessarily these days.
He's not the best a few years, but I think people are looking by him here. Skylight Hustle, Gordon. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I think he was probably a fortunate winner of a Grade 1 at Christmas, but I think the step up 2 mile 5 will really suit him.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a bit of pace. He jumps very slick. Yeah, he definitely has a chance.
Choice for Jack to make as well, Ballyfad.
Yeah, he's Ballyfad and Skylight Hustle to pick from.
Are they different types?
Probably Skylight Hustle's probably a better workhorse. Ballyfad doesn't show anything at home. He's very very, very laid back, but all his good form is on the track.
Yeah.
But they're two good horses. They're stepping up from 2 miles up to 2 mile 5. Both of them, I think, have chances, yeah.
Okay, on to the Brown Advisory. It's still potentially a race for Romeo Coolio, and Cheltenham obviously have taken out that middle race in the Novice Chase company. Johnny Dineen, I'll start with you on this one. I'm almost of a mind to keep finding the man one more chance just on the basis of Willie's regard for him, because you're getting such a bigger price. But again, on the preview nights, I don't think anyone is tipping him. People are knocking the Limerick form. People should not forget, though, the impression that he made at Navan, I would argue as well.
Yeah, like I suppose, again, it's easy to make an impression, but there's nothing trying to do any good alongside you. Look, I didn't like him the last day. I'd excuse Limerick. I didn't think he did much wrong in Limerick, but the last day...
Not good.
No, and they put a horse to him from the very start, and they tried to break him, and they did. They managed to bust him before the second last fence, and I thought they looked like a horse with a huge big hole in him. He folded tame enough in Cheltenham too last year at the same time.
He did, and he has that question against him. You like Wendigo a bit, who's
I'd give it
a lot to like.
I'd give it a good chance in a tough race, but this is a very tough race.
6-1 Wendigo,
and the ground is going to be key here. I think the big Westerner is very ground dependent. I mean, that horse wants it up to her knees. I think she does.
Don't think she's going to get that.
No, I don't think she will either. Cocktail Devon is going to come into this race now, apparently. So that's another one.
I know Darragh O'Keefe was very much hoping to split the two.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get his way now, because I read this morning where the Bromhead said Cocktail Devon is coming in here. He could be dangerous. He's got to prove he gets the trip properly. It's 3 mile and a furlong to it. Take a bit of getting. It's 5 or 6 horses, but I couldn't have finaled the man now. He's been to Cheltenham last year and folded. I didn't like him at all in Leopardstown the last day, and apparently the word of him isn't wonderful either. So I think I'd be leaving him go.
Blogger,
all over K. Dothy here for Willie Mullins. Apparently, this was the best horse last year in the yard. Things didn't go his way for whatever reason. Really impressed with the win at Ferryhouse, backing it up. Obviously, beating Final Demand. The money came, interestingly enough, in the final few minutes there. They seemed to know that he was going to run a big race, and he did. He's a big strapping animal. I think the step up in trip will suit him. I think they've got this horse A1 for the race, and I think he's a sterling each way better 6-1.
If Romeo Coolio happened to run here, would he be the chilled out sort of horse that can stretch out to 3 miles, no problem? Or
he won a point to points very well. He obviously hit the line strong over 2.5 in Ferryhouse. I don't think 3 miles will be a problem. No, it wouldn't worry me, to be honest. Whether he runs in this or not, I'm not sure. Some of the owners are still away with the country, so I just need to get talking to them over the next day or two. It's only a day in the difference of 2 races, so there's not an awful lot of difference in his work. I wouldn't bother me to run him in this race. I think you could drop him in, ride a race. I would agree with the Blogger. I think Willie's horse that won in Leopardstown is the horse I'd probably be most fearing in the race. I was disappointed with Final Demand. As Johnny says, like, you'd allow him Limerick because the ground in Limerick was so bad that day. You know, I don't know if any horse could really look that impressive on it, but he never looked like he was happy in Leopardstown. I could run Western Fold in this race. He's loads of experience. He's a 156, 157 novice chaser. I think he's in each way better than Nottingham.
Yeah. Some season after Galway, like all the way through, and he's come
to
back.
be honest, even his run in Open Company in Down Royal was very, very good, and he'd improved the stone from Leopardstown the last day. I think if he runs in a race, he'll run a big race.
Can I just put a disclaimer in? If Romeo Coolio does line up, that will be my bet.
I'm trying to get inside your head a bit here, Gordon, but I feel you might be working back from the Gold Cup next year with him. Is that mad?
Listen, you're dreaming. It's very hard to find that type of horse. Look, it wouldn't be a shock if he ran in this race. He's going to be left in everything. He'd be left in the Ryanair. Obviously, a fact, if either Gaelic Warrior ran, you wouldn't be dreaming about it. But if either of them come out with it, you're probably looking at like Hart would be in favourite. Like, you know, you wouldn't mind taking him. Well, he'd be very hard to beat, but like you would try and take him on where. I think if Factifile runs in it, he's one of the naps of the week, you know. Is
Aintree a consideration for Romeo Coolio? No.
To be honest, Aintree is like Ferryhouse. Ferryhouse is the race it's made from. But in fairness, the lads that own them, they're from the UK, and like this is what they bought horses for running Cheltenham. So like, if I owned them, I'd be going to Ferryhouse. But in fairness to the lads, I understand completely why they want to go to Cheltenham.
Do you have much of that where the owner wants one thing and the trainer is like, okay, this is my opinion, but ultimately it kind of is your call. You're the owner, like, or does that happen much?
Listen, the owner pays
exactly.
The bills. The owner pays the bills. Like, you can say what you like, but if they're very strong about running them in a race, you have to. I mean, look, that's I suppose the one shame about the middle distance race coming out of Cheltenham. you'd get all these horses there, you know, whereas some horses maybe might go to Fairyhouse or might go to Aintree, where if they did 3 races, they would all be in Cheltenham, you know.
Okay, so the Queen Mother Champion Chase, we had that bombshell recent days about Marine Nationale. On the likely ground, it would have been an interesting clash between them. I'll start with you, Blogger, on this. There seems to be some weird negativity around Magborough. I don't get it, to be honest. I think looking at the exchanges, he's going to be odds against possibly on the day. I don't think there's anything within an ass's roar from here if he turns up.
At the current price, is around 10 to 11.
Well, so David Casey...
He cannot go up 10
David
to
Casey was
11,
telling people at a preview night, more or less, and again, you shouldn't be repeating what people are saying at preview nights, but he was remortgaged the house. He was unbelievably confident with Marine Nationale in the race.
Yeah.
Who's gone.
Yeah. I mean, the performance at the DRF was unbelievable. Was it too good to be true? Potentially. But is his form more than good enough to win this? Absolutely. He should have won the Arkle. He walked through the last 2 fences. He's already got the beat and a Ledoux Sud. I couldn't have Illa Thompson for the life of me. He took a really dirty fall. Ascot lay on the floor for 15 minutes. You wouldn't know what way his mind is at all. Bar that, there's nothing in race that can get near him. This is probably the banker of the entire meeting. He jumps, he wins.
Will you run Anthony Innes in town of 50?
I doubt he'll ever run in a race. I think he's one of the bankers of the meeting as well. I mean, if he'd have jumped in the Arkle last year, he'd have been money on for the Queen Mother the following year. His jumping wasn't great here on the year, but since I'd say cheek pieces and popping them out handy, I can't see jumping is only that's going to be him, to be honest.
And I'm going left-handed, Johnny. Like, people have forgotten, like, he's gone left-handed the last twice, and things have come together for him.
Yeah, look, he's hard to pick holes in, but I don't think he's going to be that short of price. I don't think he's going to, because people still think that his jumping is going to fall asunder under pressure. No, and it. Like,
but he's a spectacular jumper. Like, it's not like, oh my God, he's an average jumper prone to mistake. He's a spectacular jumper who's only getting going, in my view. Yeah,
look, I fancy him myself. I fancy him with Marine Nationale in. But I actually think that, okay, the jumping might be his Achilles heel. Obviously, everyone thinks that, I suppose. But I think he has the same chance of winning almost now as he had with Marine Nationale in, and he's going to be half the price. That's why I think he's not going to be too short, because some people will still say, look, he still has to do things right. And we've had, in the last 10 years in this race, a lot of skinny ones getting turned over. You know what I mean? A lot of skinny price favourites. It's been a bad race for odds-on chances in the last 15 years, I'd say, 10 or 12 years.
I have an image of the Blogger in the stand roaring this horse on.
I'll be lumping on.
Yeah,
I'll be having a big solid bet.
Yeah. I think he'll win myself, but I don't think he's going to be that short. And I would back him at 10 to 11, all right.
He's a bit unlucky. He should be a Triumph Hurdle winner. He should be an Arkle winner coming into the Champion Chase. We could be hailing him as one of the genuine superstars, you know, like a Galloping de Champs who's been there 5 years in a row. I love horses who build and build and build on their CV.
Yeah, but he's not.
Yeah. He could be, but he isn't. Yeah. The only nagging concern I'd have is, which nobody seems to agree with, is that he's been very effective on bad ground in the Triumph and the last day. Bad ground. But maybe there's nothing to that. On to the rest of the card. Champion bumper. It's an open champion bumper, obviously.
Yeah, it's probably, there's no real stick-out horse in it. I run Thor in it. If the ground doesn't dry out too much, I think keeping company is a massive chance.
Massive chance.
Yeah, he's a good horse. He works very well. He won a Leopardstown at Christmas. Yeah, he's working very well. I'm very happy with him.
Anything else on day 2?
What else we got?
So we have the Grand Annual.
I don't think I've any good enough in that, no.
And then obviously the cross-country chase. The race.
Favre de Shampoo, I think, is a great chance. You know, hopefully Stumptown runs and it'll leave him a nice weight of 11 stone 5. You know, he looks like he's really found his mojo again. You'd have to say, you know, Stumptown, obviously what he's done has been very, very good, but he only just scraped home last year. He's a lot more weight on his back. Or it looks probably like he's a horse on the up. You know, Martin Brazel's horse probably off 10 stone too. You would have to respect but he has to run around Cheltenham. And for me, like, if you don't run around Cheltenham, it's virtually impossible to win first time out.
Yeah, fair enough. Unless you're Poneros, weirdly enough, who hadn't even jumped a hurdle before. But then again, you know, rules are brought in.
Race.
Yeah, sorry, I got you. Yeah, sorry.
Cross-country race.
Where are we at with the Yellow Clay? He could run in the... I
have to speak to Noel over the next day or two. Look, he's in the stairs. I'd love to run him in the Cork Cup. I think he had a very hard race in Nav in his first race back. I think it went very, very quick, and it took the toll on the first half of the season. But he over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's really starting to show signs that he's coming back to himself. He looks well. He's working well. Even though he's got a lot of weight, I'd like to run him in the Coral Cup.
Possibly if it had the new line and final demand boosting his Cheltenham form at this stage as well, like he might look very well handicapped. Maybe.
We'll see, yeah.
Just to reiterate, so you think it's very hard to win the cross-country race without having had a run at Cheltenham in that race before? Yeah, fair enough. Johnny Dineen, the rest of the day too.
Yeah, I'd slightly favour Favre de Chamdou myself. I think I'll have the edge over Stumptown. Whether somebody else will come along and beat him, I don't know. The bumper is wide open. They give Horst Martin Brazzels a chance. It's only a game. You got all upset at Christmas, or the DRF, I should say. And look, if that happened again, he definitely won't win. But if he did behave himself this time, I think he's a fairly smart horse. And the Coral Cup is a really hard race always. And definitely one of the few races I definitely won't have no bet in it for sure.
Yeah, not sponsored by that bookmaker anymore,
Bet
but it's
MGM
hard to keep tabs with these changes. Blogger, have you another scatter of handicappers?
Yeah, I like Ardrigall in the Grand Annual for Henry de Bromhead for Gavin Cromwell at 20-1. Was a good winner on St Stephen's Day at Leopardstown when he beat Release the Beast, and then he ran behind Gordon's horse, Jacob's Ladder.
God, that's the first time we've
won really
an English lad saying St Stephen's Day. You're definitely acclimatising, yeah.
Stephen with a PH.
yeah. You like him anyway.
Yeah, he's got a good chance there. I think he's been laid out for the race by Gavin. And Be Aware, probably one of the big plot jobs for the Skelton off of 147. Horse is a bit of a head case from the front of the pace. He's had no cover this year. He's been running in small field novice chases. I think a big handicap's really going to suit him. Harry will bury him into a field, and I think he'll be there with a big chance 2 out.
Stay with you, so for the start of day 3. Do you like the mare's race at Cheltenham? I'm not a fan at all, I have to say. Just gives connections
I
an
wouldn't
idea.
be the biggest fan of them in general.
The 2 mare's races, talk to me. We don't know where Lossiemount's going to go.
When we talk about the Olympics, we talk about the best of the best versus the best of the best. You know, there's plenty of races throughout the season where horses can be divulged and mixed. I think for punters who are going to Cheltenham, this is our mecca. This is what we live for. It's what we all dream about. And I think there's a good mares programme already. I'm a big fan of advocating that there could be a mares grade 1 at a different meeting.
Stephen, Cheltenham is the Olympics.
It is, but for example, Lossiemouth. Yeah. It would be a travesty if she's not in the champion hurdle. Same with Brighter Days Ahead. We want to see her in the champion hurdle because they're so good, these mares. You know, we've seen Honeysuckle, we've seen Annie Power. We want to see the best taking on the best geldings, don't we?
Gordon, if Dawn won, she lifted the nation in the 80s. If she were around today, nobody would remember her because she wouldn't be running the Gold Cup champion hurdle. She would run the mares races. I couldn't be less of a fan of them at Cheltenham. Cheltenham is not about mares races, but it does give Wadu obviously a good chance of potentially beating Lossiemouth, and you're quite bullish.
Yeah, she's in good form. She hasn't done much wrong in her career, actually very little, to be honest.
She's not that flashy at home, is she?
No, she's not flashy. And I don't think she ran even to her potential the last day in Leopardstown. She gave herself a little cut, so she had the week before it, and we just kind of had to mind her coming up to the race. But she's in very good form at home, very happy with her. She's only beaten once when beaten by Lossiemount in Aintree.
Can she reverse the form if they turn
I think she can. She's a year older. She's working very well. I'm very, very happy with her. Listen, if Lossiemount runs in the mares or the champion, I have to worry about her, and she is a worry wherever she goes. But I disagree with you. The way the world has gone now, you know, we're looking for 5 days at Cheltenham now. There's going to be a race for every type of horse when it gets there. And if there is, there should be a grade 1 for the mares, and there should be a grade 1 chase. There should be, you know, if that's the way they want to the sport to go, and that's the way it's gone. I mean, you pick up your phone and you look at Twitter and you have to listen to what you say or someone else says. I mean, that's good for the game and it's not good for the game. Yeah. So it's everyone's opinion, and the way the world has gone now. If Cheltenham was on for 7 days, I'd be there, and so would you, and you too, Johnny. You know what I mean? The force will be there. You know what I mean? The force. But I agree. If they want to have 4 days racing, there should be a mares race. We're not going to change it.
Johnny Dineen, what's your take on it?
Well, if you're going to have 4 days races, you're going to run out of decent races to have. You know what I mean? If you take them out, what are you going to replace them with? That's the problem. If you're going to have 4 days,
but if it
goes to 5 days, I don't know what way you could do it.
Yeah, then it's a glorified Galway, like, do you know? Well, it's going 5 days,
but still, you still have the real top races at the same time. The really, really top races. Maybe they could put a ceiling on maybe force the real top ones into open. I don't know. Maybe you could have that you couldn't run if you had a mare rated 160 or something that you can't run in the mare hurdle. She has to go for the champion hurdle.
People get a great kick out of Rachel Blackburn. People get a great kick out of mares beating geldings. Like mares running against mares, I think that's grand on Fairyhouse. Just it's not for me at all. But sticking to the race themselves here. If you just talk about the senior race first.
Yes. Look, if Woodhoo and Lossimo face up, I think I'd just go with Woodhoo slightly. No, I wouldn't be ramming it down your throat. I do think it's a toss up. But I think Lossimo had a very hard race, and that's the one thing you'll have an idea by here what effect the DRF, particularly the hurdle track, has had on horses. Like if you see the likes of Talk the Talk not performing and them kind of horses, maybe Ballyfad or King Grass.
Ben Pauling definitely made that point.
Yeah, I think that's a worry for anyone facing into a horse like Talk the Talk, maybe myself. I think this horse is coming here with slightly less taxing, maybe. Preps for races like that. Now, it might make any difference. I'd say it's probably an individual thing, that some horses will ride their way through it and other horses will fall by the wayside. Who knows what will happen. But look, I'd slightly favour Woodhoo. I just think that Lossimo, okay, she might be back working well again, but she ran with her head out to the side the last day, and this course will suit Woodhoo. She's a course and distance winner, whereas Lossimo isn't. She's won at the other court. This is more of an emphasis. There's not much between them from entry anyway, and I just think maybe it might be Woodhoo's turn this time.
Going to have a 100 sterling charity bet from each of the four people here, and the money, any winnings will go to racing welfare. Back to you, Blogger. On it's 10, evens 11 to 10 basically with PricedUp. So the layers are. I think it's a dead match anyway.
For the mare's hurdle. So we're basing it on if Lossie Mouth lines up. If she lines up, I'd be with her.
Okay, sticking with you for the mare's novice. Mad discrepancy in price today, which I can't get my head around. Can't wait to ask Gordon about his mare, because these are two good horses. Yeah,
I mean, we've just arrived and we've gone on to the machine to see her at 8.2. So I presume potentially she's had an injury, potentially she's out of the race. The great man's here, and he said she's not. So I don't know what's going on. There's obviously only half a length between them on their debut runs over hurdles. Woodies were potentially needing the run back then. I was there at, where did she win last time, Gordon? Was it Ferry? I was there at Fairyhouse, and she was ultra impressive, wasn't she? She's a really nice scopy mare, and I got a lot of time for her. I would just be worried if the ground continues to dry out come that part of the week, would it take a bit of the edge off of her? What do you reckon?
Look, it's probably, if it got very quick, it would be a worry. She's ran okay in bumpers on nice ground, but to be honest, I think she's got a big chance. She's very, very tough. She stays well. She's working very, very well. She's in good nick. Look, obviously Bambino has been to Cheltenham and won. But our mare's in good form, and I think she won't be far away.
Yeah, it looks a two-horse race on paper, doesn't it, really? Two class horses in the race.
Yeah, it does, but listen, it's Cheltenham.
Yeah, when you look at a race like that, you're often just wrong. Yeah. It's like even Carrickmore Spruce and...
Look at it. Everyone said Willie's only half fit that day. Look, Willie Mullins doesn't send horses to the races half fit. But Bambino has been to Cheltenham and has the form. But arguably, if you take her form, or bumper form, out from winning into Cheltenham bumper, like it's not outstanding form, Johnny. You know what I mean?
No,
her bumper form, but she's been there and done it.
Yeah.
Our mare, she hasn't done anything wrong since we got her. We're very, very happy. She'll do her last bit of work in the morning. And I'm happy. I think she won't be far away.
Is she straightforward?
She's very straightforward. Yeah. She's not flashy. Very, very straightforward. Mark will pop her out there, probably right on the first 2 or 3 and keep it simple.
Sometimes there is smoke without fire. How is she in each way price? Or she could be 5-6 to 1 on the day. The way things are going.
Yeah, you never know if the ground quickened up. I think the general consensus is that Old School Outlaw is going to be inconvenienced if the ground dries and maybe suit maybe the favourite. That's probably why there's a big disparity between the two. Like Bambino favourite's going to be short. She just wouldn't be for me at 4 to 5. I just think like it's Cheltenham 4 to 5, 20 runners, mares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'd nearly rather back something in Taunton or Sedgefield.
You'll be laying her, will you, Johnny?
I wouldn't be laying her for my life or anything like that. But I
don't need to have a bet in every race.
I just think 4 to 5. It's a bit like there's other plenty of horses here. Factor foil at 4 to 7. Like there's no such thing as a certainty in a place like Cheltenham, and she has to do things fairly right at the same time. Like she's not that much in hand on some of these either, and she hasn't much of a prep either. She's only like 1 run in Nace basically. That other thing where she ran in, she was nothing in that race. That's basically a solo. So she's coming here. She's not coming here far off the Copic, the board kind of a maybe prep as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, look, she'll probably take it with a beating. She did win the Cheltenham bumper at the end of the day at the same time, and I presume if she runs at that level, she'd probably win.
And the thing I liked about that was she backed it up at Punchestown.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
A lot of horses don't.
No,
there is a lot of stable confidence behind her.
Like, and if you look at her winning a point to point, right? You'd never again look at point-to-point videos, because how you could think that she could win the Cheltenham bumper in the race in Punchestown. You just, if Felicity that thing won the Cheltenham, you'd say go away. It just couldn't be. You could, but
that is why it's a great game, Johnny.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. When I used to look at the point, I still get it, but I don't look at it that much anymore, because it nearly puts you off. It's put you on. You know what I mean? That kind of way. Look, she's probably the one to beat, but she wouldn't be. I'm going to go with carrying more than Spruce each way. I think that's a smart horse, and I like to kind of prep it at. And it has a run against Geldings at Christmas against.
You like that form?
I do. Skylight Hustle and Talk to Talk, and that's and she won 2 bumpers where she was given plenty to do in races too, and look, she's held by Bambino Fever on 1 run at the DRF, but like that's only 1 run. She has form earlier on in the year. I think she has a bit of a squeak now. She's coming here fresh. I think she has a chance each way, anyway.
There's only one place to start in the Stairs Hurdle. Over to the great man.
Yeah, Stairs Hurdle. We're looking forward to it. Tiapu's in great form. Couldn't be happy with him. You'd have to say his last run in Leopardstown looked like it's bang up there, nearly the career best. I think if Jack had his time back last year, he'd have made more use of him, and got him rolling earlier. I mean, he was upside the Wall Park, 50 yards from the last hurdle, and the Wall Park, isn't a quick horse. So I think if he had his time back, he'd probably rode him a bit different. Rachel gave her a brilliant ride, landed on upsides at last and came and bet us a couple of lengths. But he's in good form, great preparation, very happy with him.
Honesty policy.
He's the young gun. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. He hit the line very, very strong in Ascot. I'd have loved to get another run into him, but just the ground was so soft, I didn't want to pull the legs out of him. But he's in very good form. I'm very happy with him. Yeah, he has a chance to.
Is it kind of weird watching a race like that when you've 2 horses that are so... Yeah.
It's brilliant, especially if the 2 of them are involved. Listen, to be honest, I do my best for every owner, and both horses are going with chances. I still just would have to side with Tiapu. I think he's been there, done that. He runs to within a couple of pounds of his ratings the whole time. Honesty policy, he hasn't much miles in the clock. Wouldn't shock me if he's a Stairs Hurdle horse down the road. But I'd probably just side with Tiapu. The only thing I would say is, I'd say the better the ground gets, the better chance Tiapu has. Or not Tiapu, honesty policy.
But on Tiapu, is the ground, you've been on record as saying maybe it is overrated a bit.
It is overrated, but I think he's an awful lot more effective when there's a little bit he gets his toe into it a bit. Yeah. But he's in very good form, and
one of the most likeable horses I'd say you've ever been involved with, because he always produces it pretty much.
Yeah, he does. He reminds me of a horse I used to train years ago called Causes. He turned up every day, you wanted him, and so does this lad. You can just, he's push button. He always runs to his mark, and I think it's his race to lose again.
Yeah, maybe the John Bon of hurdling Tiapu. Is it fair to say you'll be disappointed if one of them doesn't win?
Listen, Henry's horse was very, very good the last in Cheltenham last year, and they've said all year they're training him for here, so you have to have the utmost respect for him. And Emma Lavelle's horse that won the last day, they went to Cleves, did it? Yeah. I see a few people tipping that up. I think it has to improve a bit more to maybe win a Stayers, but listen, I'd be disappointed if I don't win, but that's the game we're in, isn't it?
Johnny, 2-1, 4-1, 4-1 Tiapu. I actually find this a hard race to have a bet in necessarily.
Yeah, tricky race. Yeah. I mean, you've 2 exposed stalwarts like Tiapu and Bob Ollinger. Then you've 2 young horses like Cabral Lemaitre and Honesty Policy. Then you've 2 kind of handicappers, Machentu and Impositoire. So you have a sextet of horses there, and you wouldn't be surprised what any of the 6.
Impositoire could still be one of those last horse off the bridle kind of as well. Like one? Impositoire could still be.
Impositoire, I think that has a little chance. The ground dries up, but he's only a horse with about 150 yard run in him. You know what I mean? And he's got to be produced. Like if he's in front of the last, he won't win. You know that kind of way. He's got to be ridden like really, really cold and
Belvano or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of stuff to have any chance of winning. The horse to me that I thought was short was Honesty Policy. Like it's 4-192. That looks quite a sharp price to me, because Impositoire went by him and asked. I know he might improve, of course he will, but he's only a young horse too. He isn't much miles in the clock, Honesty Policy. He's short on experience. I don't really fancy Machentu myself, even though he beat him post-Twa the last day. I think he's coming out of handicaps too. He's like, he won off of 1-4 something, 1-4-4. He's beaten earlier on this season, and he'd have a 1-3 something like. So I think he's plenty to do. The Cabral, the match, and I was giving that a chance. I was at one of these preview with Tony McCoy. He thought it no chance. He said none whatsoever. I've been trying to listen to him now. He just said that kind of horse won't win the Stayers Hurdle. They're too keen and too flashy horse. You need a yoke like that's behind the bridle and will stay and stay and stay. And even today, Cabral, the match, and won was it Alice Plunkett asked Harry Skelton, would you Stayers Hurdle? He didn't say it straight away. Yeah, he was still not so sure. You know what I mean? That kind of way. So look, I think Tiupo is the horse to beat, but at 2-1, he's probably tight enough. But he's probably the one to beat. I would give him Pose to a little squeak.
Blogger, would you be the type of fella to back a horse each way at 5-2 if Tiupo turn up 5-2, 3-1 on the day? Can't be out the first three, surely.
No, not in a million years.
Not in a million years.
I'd back him to win.
Okay.
But I've got to start.
Winner, chicken dinner.
I've got to start with my line from last year. Come back, Jack. Come back. Do you remember that, Gordon, when he jumped the last? Did you see that on Twitter?
No,
my reaction.
No.
As I watched my soul drift away and Bob Ollinger came past me.
No,
I was absolutely devastated.
So this is day 3. You're having a bad Cheltenham. You don't need this.
Yeah, day 1 was okay. I broke even. Tuesday was a bloodbath. All went wrong for me. Wednesday I was holding my own. And then after the Stayers, it all went Pete's on for me. I'd echo what Gordon said there. I think if Jack could ride the race again, he'd probably kick on a bit earlier on and try and take the stamina out of all of them. A great race from a punter's perspective. It just looks quite wide open this year, doesn't it? A fun race. One of the quirkiest horses in the race is Ballyburn. We go back to the Hatton's Grace.
I can't have him at all.
So there were genuine excuses for his poor run behind Tiapu last time. But how many excuses can you continue to give a horse?
What was wrong with him?
He wasn't good enough.
He doesn't really stay 3 miles.
We're all here to do this podcast for you today. You know,
apparently there was a genuine excuse. That's what I've been told.
You've said that at times where you can't actually say what it is. Sometimes you have
I'm
to
training the horse.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a tipster.
I'll get a smack on the wrist, Gordon. You know, I'll get a smack on the wrist. We shouldn't underestimate Ballyburn. I think him and Tiapu are the 2 class horses in the race. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Hatton's Grace form came to fruition back in the Stayers Hurdle and the 2 of them were 1-2 again. I mean, Tiapu's won a Stayers, he's been second, he's been third. He's the one to beat, he's the king of the race. I just love to see a drop of rain. I know Gordon says he's not that ground dependent, but I think this horse stays all day. And I think if Jack kicks on 4 out, I don't think most of the horses can live with him in the race. Cabral de Mathen, you're just hoping he stays. You know, there's no evidence to prove he does. I think Tiapu's a better horse than Honestly Modesty. Bob Ollinger's 11 now. I think he got away with murder last year, even though he's a course specialist. And Emma Lavell's, for all that the horse is improving, I think he's got at least 10 to 15 pounds to make up with Tiapu. For me, this is Tiapu's race. I hope Jack takes the race by the scrub of the neck and we get revenge for last year.
There we go, Blogger. People say this is a race for...
Lift him, Jack. Lift him.
Go on, Jack, my son. Pete Tong, there was an interview with him in the paper the other day, actually. People say this is a race for failed chasers. I don't agree with that at all. I actually really like the race. And you proper, like, big bucks types, Tiapu, really good horses, year in, year out. I cannot give Ballyburn. I just don't think he gets 3 miles, a proper run 3 miles at all. Brings us on to the Ryanair. Start with you on this, Blogger. Yeah, I don't know. You'd like to see these horses in the Gold Cup, maybe. Yeah. For me, it's which of them runs here wins. Gaelic Warrior and Factifile.
I think the market's told us that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it looks very much now like Factifile's going to run in this.
Yep, he jumps round, he wins. Him and Madgeborough. Double them up and get your wages for the Cheltenham Festival. Simple as that. They jump and they win.
I agree.
You know, it's as simple as that. There's no need to blurt on and go on and on about it. He's a great horse, isn't he, Gordon Factifile?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, to be honest, I think if I owned him, I don't have a Gold Cup horse. Obviously, JP's got a few of them, so he'd want. I'm willing to say, and they want to split them up whatever way they feel best. If I owned him, I'd love to run him in the Gold Cup. I think he's an absolute certainty in the Ryanair, and I think he could possibly win the Gold Cup as well. But listen, I'm sure the lads will make whatever decision they feel is best.
And Johnny Dineen, does the week you're having on your pitch, your inaugural renewal at the pitch, does the week you're having have any bearing whatsoever on the next race, such that will you be taking on Factifile if you're having a great week? Will you be taking him on if you want to get a few quid in the locker? Will you be just like, no, he's a good thing, we're going 4-7?
Yeah, I think it will be 4-7.
He's 4-5 here, which I don't know.
That looks fair, yeah. That looks fair because he's running here. That's for certain, and obviously Gaelic Warrior won't be. I do think Banbridge has a small little chance.
I didn't think he was running here, but now he is.
I think he is running here.
Yeah, with the ground drying
he
out.
did win the King George. He was second this year in the King George. He is
Ideal
a good
trip,
horse.
give or take.
And likes the ground.
Yeah.
I think and the only little negative for Factified, it's a small little negative. The fella pointed out to me that his last 6 or 7 runs, he's followed a good run with a bad run.
Yeah, King George is very disappointing.
But if you go back to his runs at Leopardstown at last Christmas, not this one, he was second to Galloping Champ, ran a blinder. Went to the DRF, ran bad, barely beat Grange Players. Then went to the Ryanair, won alone. Then he went to Punchestown 2 miles out of sight bed. Then he went to the John Durkin, ran a blinder. Went to the King George, ran terrible. Back to the DRF, ran well. So if that trend happens to follow, he isn't going to run as well the next day. But that might be rubbish now. That might. But it's this last 7 or 8 runs. It is a small concern that he's not following a really good run with another one.
Well, horses who are trained to be extremely competitive in top races, it takes a bit out of them. They can disappoint, that's the thing about. I remember back in Masterminded, I had a serious betting him at 2-5 in the Champion Chase. It was like, I'm not doing that again. Yeah. It was just like it's Cheltenham at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It would be. Look, the fact that it's Cheltenham would stop me from backing Factified. He looks an obvious winner. I do, of course, but I think if I was having a small bet, I think I'd go Banbridge each way. I think he's about the only possible danger, if there is one.
Will JP run John Bon?
No, I wouldn't think so. No, I'd say he's going to go to entry. That's a certainty.
So skip the Champion Chase and the Ryanair.
Yeah, I would have said. So when he's got 2 odds on favourites in both, I don't. And he's going to go. None of them 2 horses will be in the 2.5 mile race at the thing. So I'd say
Mark Walsh is a squeak to be top jockey as well with all the rides.
He's some look of rides, but he's been well found in the market.
He has. And Blogger likes the McManus double there, which I find hard to disagree with. Lot of tight handicaps in day 3. We'll start with you, Johnny Dineen. The Kim Muir.
Kim Muir, I go with Waterford Whispers.
Okay, and we'll get you to give your analysis as well. The Per 10 Steverock final, and the other handicap on day 1 is the Jack Richards Novice Handicap.
Jack Richards, I go Meet Me by the Sea, strong. I'll be strong in that.
Okay.
And I go with Waterford Whispers. If he gets the trip in the... But sure, he's not the only horse that'll have to get a trip. He's one of the few horses. Like, there are horses that will get a trip, but would they be good enough? But I think that race will be won by a horse that is attempting 3.25 miles for the first time, and he's a class horse.
Yeah, Jerker Ropney, like he was eye-catching in a 2-horse race, if that's possible. He's actually been come down the way it's kind of, to me, he looks very, very obvious in Kim Muir. That's not to say he'll win. Gordon, what do you like of your handicappers on day 3?
Day 3, Kim Muir, I run a horse called Pensguard de Trois, who was 4th in the Grand National Trial. He'd run in that. He could have an each way chance. Whether he's good enough or not, I wouldn't be sure. Staffordshire not runs in the attempts. I think it's an ordinary race.
He's a very likeable horse.
Yeah, he's very honest. You know, he never got his form at all together last year, but this year he's great at form. Top weights have a good record in this race.
Yeah. Class act.
I wouldn't be shocked if I seen JP's horse running up the top of it.
Impose it. Yeah. You
know, if the 2 of them run, I think the 2 of them are the horses that will take all the beating, to be honest.
And then the Jack Richards?
That's 2.5 mile, isn't it? Novice handicap. I run Wingman in that. Look, we had a little issue with his back. We hopefully we have it right now. If you go back to the best of his novice hurdle form, he'd have a good each way chance.
Absolutely.
Would Staffordshire not want slow ground or to be at his best? Or?
To be honest, I think ground wouldn't really depend on him. It depends on what way he turns up in his head.
Okay.
Like, to be honest, I've no doubt he is a great horse. I think he's won grade 2s, grade 3s this year, but he's a monkey.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Blogger.
But I think it's you talk about races being in Cheltenham, like this is one race in Cheltenham like that. You know, you're talking about the Olympics, like it's
been there all along.
Yeah, it's getting to be a little bit disappointing at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think it needs a tweak somewhere, and I'm not sure what it is, but it's getting to be.
Would you use a claimer on Staffordshire not in?
He's not a claimer's right.
Okay.
I won't. I'll leave Jack on him, to be honest. He's not really a claimer's right. Carl Miller won him, but to be honest...
He takes a fair share of whipping all right, driving, don't he? Yeah.
He takes a bit of driving, and you know, if you get racing too early on him...
Yeah, I know.
I'd prefer to Jack squeezing him along the whole way.
I slag you a bit, but I remember one day at the races, Jack was injured, and the first thing he came out with, this is Jack's ride, by the way, and just thinking of him at the moment when he had his latest injury, since which time, what a season he's having.
He's having a great season. Listen, he's 25 or 6 years of age. You know what he's done for a lad that's only probably rode half of his career. You know, he's been injured so much. But I just say it because I mean you've got these good jockeys for him to come back. they have to be confident coming back, that they know they have a job to come back and they've nothing to worry about. And for me, he's a world-class jockey. He's number one here, and I'm lucky to have him.
How much is it natural ability, or say Joe Canning was hurling against the wall at 3 years of age, how much is it like the pony racing background and riding so early in his life?
I'd say definitely a help. Look, I obviously didn't know exactly he was 13 or 14 years of age, but I'm sure he's riding ponies and he's 3 or 4 years of age. But he's he's a very level-headed fella. He's on work every day. He works hard and he deserves every bit of success he gets.
What struck me about Jack was his first ride at the track was on a hot favourite Tagliatelle in, I think it was Clonmel.
Clonmel, yeah.
Yeah, and that was, where does he stand for you, Johnny, in the great...
Oh, he's right up there, yeah. I do think there's about 5, 6 top riders in England and Ireland, and on any given day, you couldn't split them really. I think that the difference between Townend, Jack Kennedy, maybe even you could put in Darragh O'Keefe into that bracket, and on the other side, Cobden and Bone, and maybe 1 or 2 Twiston David. There's half a dozen. I'm probably missing one now, but like there's about half a dozen. When they'll go a little period, he was saying he's definitely the best riding at the moment. And then 2 weeks time it's Cobden, and then 2 weeks time it's Bowen. You know what I mean? And he'll win a race that he should. But there's like if you had a pick of any one of the 5 of them, you wouldn't mind who it was.
Blogger, your handicappers on day 3.
Yeah, I think Bold Endeavour has a squeak for Nicky Henderson in the per temps. He was 4th in the race to Monreal a few years ago. He subsequently moved to Laura Morgan. He's back to Nicky. He's off a £14 lower mark. I know he's 10 years old now, but around 20 to 1, trained by the great man, he's going to go into that with a decent chance. And we talk about gambles at the Cheltenham Festival, Supremely West, one of the biggest punts we've seen this year. He's had the 4 runs for Skelton, but if you look at the form with Marchantou, he tried to give him £7. And this horse is now 4th favourite for the Stayers. And Skelton's creeping this in here of 135, 10 stone 4. A wind up. This is the plot of the plots, isn't it?
How sharp is Dan Skelton?
Oh, listen, I don't know how you're even asking that question. To be honest, he doesn't leave any stone unturned. You know, he if he picks a race out for a horse a couple of months out, it normally goes right. But look, he's in a great position. He's got a lot of very good horses, just like Johnny says there. I think with the jockeys, like, you know, I think it's all about having the horses to ride, you know, and that's what makes them super jockeys. And Dan has the horses, but he's doing everything so right. Not
a bad target trainer yourself, no fairness.
It's about having the horses, you know.
Silver Birch and all that, all those years.
Oh, Silver Birch wasn't really a target. That was more of an accident than a plan. The plan was a cross country race and it got bet, so I didn't do a great job in that. But yeah, look at Dan is doing a wonderful job. I think he's 7 or 8 favourites this year, has he?
He could have, yeah.
Someone told me this morning he's 7 or 8 favourites. So he's they're not going to all win, but as we know, but he's got a great bunch of owners behind him, and you know he's definitely going the right way.
The Triumph Hurdle. Narciso Haas won't be winning this. What will?
No, he won't, and nor will my bank balance, because I've done my Conkers anti-post. He was the horse that I was the most heavily involved in.
I had laid him heavily to a mate at 7-2 anti-post, so I was in a terrible position.
Right. So I spoke to a few of the French agents about 8 months ago, and they said to me that this is one of the most promising horses they've sent over. They said, back him for the Triumph. We think a lot of this animal.
What a killer.
So I started mopping up 16s, 12s, 8s. I've stood to win a lot of money. I saw the news. I was driving on the motorway. I pulled over, and I've just sat there for about 3 minutes and rolled the windows down to get some air. So I'm in the hole before we start, Johnny. There'll be no getting out of it from there. I was at Cheltenham when Maestro Conti won on trials day. I was really impressed with him. Harry buried him in and just taught him to ride. Settled the race in a matter of strides coming up the hill. And amongst all of the horses, he's won at this stage at 8-1. I really have a lot of time for. He had a good win in France. He's a speedy animal, I think, with the ground drying out. I think he's going to be a big runner. We don't know much about the Mullins pair in Proactive and Selma de Veri. We've only seen them both race the once. Obviously, JP's is well fancied. But I was a big fan of what Skelton's done that day, and I can see him reproducing that form. He'll be in the front 3.
Mange 2, Rodney. Mange 2, as they say, only fools and horses. What sort of chance?
A short run. We're probably going to go to entry, to be honest. Yeah, we'll keep it for entry.
Have you any in the race?
I might run Highland Crystal. She's 3 from 3. Look, I'm not sure if she's good enough to beat a few of them top ones, but it's a race. If you're not in, you can't win. Probably with the favourite coming out. I actually like JP's other horse, the horse that won in Fairy House, was it?
Proactive.
Yeah, Proactive. Yeah. I was very impressed with him the day he won in Fairy House. He looks like a beast of a horse. I was at the races that day, and for me, he's the horse I think will take all the beating.
A good judge told me actually that Narciso Haas on the figures was no good thing whatsoever in this race, which doesn't make me wonder. I do feel Selma de Veri is a little bit overrated, because I thought she flattened out off the last Saturday, but what are you liking it?
I think Mullins is a certainty to win this race anyway. I don't fancy any of them other horses.
Why?
I just think a lot of these English horses have one horse town form, and one horse town won in Hexham middle of July, and he's still hanging around in these races in the middle of February. Do you know what I mean? Jeez, I don't know. I think like okay, Dan Skid is a good operator and all that, but some of these French, like the French breds, have a great record in this race anyway. The last 10 years, they were almost winning it on a yearly basis. So
he's a French horse.
He is, yeah. Like that, he is, but his form isn't up to much.
Not yet.
No, not yet anyway. Yeah. I do think Proactive and Macho Man, that form line from Fairy House is the one to be aiming at, and I think I'd go with Proactive. I'd say he's a very, very smart horse. These are really expensive horses too. They have to have a fair share of ability. You know what I mean? Narciso Has was another one of them. And like you're talking, geez, when you give $500,000 for a horse, you would expect it to be some way competitive in these kind of races. So it's not doesn't always work like that. But I just said it's a help at the same time.
I used to think the Triumph was for ex-flat horses, but it has changed a lot now. You get these more national and French bred horses.
I think flat horses don't count in 4-year-old races anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. On to the Mayor's Chase. Dino Blue 6-4 favourite. Will you run anything in this?
No, I don't think it will. I think Dino Blue, I think is we're talking about naps at the meeting. I think she's definitely one of the good things on Friday. Yeah.
We've got the JP treble now. Madra, Factor File, Dino Blue.
Yeah, you're obviously with the favourite here. She's, funny enough, a horse I've never really warmed her for some reason, but she should win this.
She can be quirky at times, can't she? She can throw in the odd stinker.
Spindlebury, where are you with her? 132nd
I thought it was a big mistake to run her in the Irish Gold Cup last time out. I'd say that would have set her back myself. I know it was the owner's decisions. I know Willie wasn't too happy about running her. And I don't like backing a horse on the back of a bad run coming into the best meeting in the world. I could not be with her at all.
Johnny Dineen, Panic Attack, any sort of chance?
I think it's slightly overrated. I think coming back from, it won the Paddy Power, but it did run over the Hennessy trip 3.25 miles. I'm not so sure it'll have the tactical pace for a race like this on better ground. Dina Blue's the one to beat for sure. Like if she didn't make mistakes there one day in Navan, she'd probably be going for about 8 in a row. You know, that kind of way. So she's very solid. Saying that it is a better race than last year. She was beating up Allegory Devassi there a few times at the same time. Like I don't think you'd fancy Allegory Devassi here. It is a better race, and there are more horses in it, like the likes of Spindlebury. I don't really fancy Panic Attack either. Only by night has a bit of a chance. Jade de Grogy would be dangerous if it turned in here rather than going for the Mayor's Hurdle. But I suppose it's Dino Blue is the one to beat for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off it anyway.
She's had the perfect prep, hasn't she? Winning at Nace and at Kansas, she comes into the race.
Yeah, she's a good chance. Like she wouldn't look out of place in the Champion Chase, would she? Like,
no, she wouldn't. A 160 mare.
Yeah. Another. Anyway, on to the Albert Bartlett now. Gordon's beside me here. I remember watching Sir Tudo beat your horse in Mallow, Jalan Dudares, and I don't know, was Eddie O'Leary saying afterwards, like really happy with the run, had been off for so long. Has been nibbled at in recent days. What's your thought process stepping up to 3?
Definitely runs in the race. I'll run 4 in it. I'll run Jalan, Road Exile, Spinning the Yarn, and Kaczynski. Look at Jalan, probably is the class horse in the race. Whether he stays a trip or not, we don't know. But I that's the race we're going for. He's in very good form. He's course form. He was placed in the bumper. But he has had his fair share of problems, and it's hard to get away from that. You know, he was nearly a couple of years off the track. Look, he's in good form. He's well, but I could probably give you better ones.
Not a race I'm mad on from putting in perspective. What do you make of Dr. Steinberg?
I was actually giving that a squeak, Road Exile, you know, and I looked at the Betfair the other day. It was 360 to 1.
Yeah.
I said, it mustn't be running. But
no,
it is running.
Runs. 100% runs.
I think that has a chance.
He has a chance. Yeah. Look, he's won his point to point. He's a great jumper. You know, I actually hadn't much else to run in the race in Punchestown that day, and I ran him, and we said we'd go out and go a gallop. But it just doesn't suit some horses.
Exactly,
he was behind the bridle the whole way, but he's in very good form. I mean, as you say, Johnny, he could be any price.
But if ever a horse was not suited by making the run, but exactly.
Tarzan's getting a lot of nice jumps horses, actually.
I couldn't get over the price. I saw such interviews that just can't be running anyway. You know what I mean? But I think it's dangerous. I do think it's dangerous.
He definitely has a chance in Spinning the Yarn as well. He's a very tough horse, unassuming horse. Probably prefer a little bit softer for him as well, though, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Dr. Steinberg, I was mad against him at Leopardstown at the prices. He won again, seems to just keep improving.
I have a feeling Dr. Steinberg won't win myself. Now, it's the 1 week favourite I thought for the whole 4 days is the one horse. If you said pick one favourite that won't win, I'd say, well, I'll go Dr. Steinberg. I think somebody will beat him myself. Yeah.
What will beat him?
I don't know. I think it's a race that can throw up shocks.
Yeah.
It's generally speaking, it's a. If there's an even money chance in it, it tends to win. The likes of Wichita Lineman or maybe at Fisher's Cross. But when they bet 7-2 and 4 to win the field, you
can get like I have actually
25 to 1 chances.
I backed Vanilla, Penn Hill, and Noel Mead's horse in this years ago.
Very Wood.
But I just don't. I'm not getting the trumpet out here, but I do think it's a race that you go for a horse at a bigger price.
Yeah, back still a story 2 years ago, but it was probably a bit lucky, but it won at the same time. You know, if it wasn't like, you know, it's a race. It's a race for outsiders. I think it generally speaking, it's a race. A lot of horses going up to 3 miles. You don't know what they'll do. They could go backwards, forwards. Could improve out of all recognition. You just don't know.
I think sometimes you've an outsider in them races, you know, the jockey can go out there, there's not a whole lot of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hunt away, and it's that type of race. It's the horse that's coming home and staying well. I think Stellar Story, the year he won it, they actually had no gallop in it, and Sam actually grabbed the race by the butt of the horns at the top of the hill and kicked. Or the jukebox kicked, and we went with him. We followed him, but everything else kind of
took their time.
Took their time, and the race was gone. But sometimes when you're not on a horse very short, it can, especially this race.
PricedUp.bet's brand ambassador Stephen Power from Clonmel. We'll give you the last word before we go to the Gold Cup.
Not a lot to say, but I will have a few quid each way on Jalen to do the race.
Staying with you for the Gold Cup. If I were to say to you at the end of Cheltenham last year that the Gold Cup will be dominated by the horses at the top of the market now, like the Django Bay, the Jukebox Man, and even Haiti Colour could feasibly be first, second, and third favourite for the hosts. I know the way you're thinking. I backed him at 20s now, but I got a drunk bookmaker.
You got the value,
to lay me. I don't know if I did. He could be 20s in the day. Yeah. Johnny Dineen is certainly not shouting from the rooftop about his chances. We'll get to Gordon on the complexity of training a horse that had his background the last day. Talk to me about the Gold Cup.
What a Gold Cup.
What a Gold Cup, exactly.
What a great race. What a race just to enjoy, to talk about. And horse racing needs these kind of races. We need good horses. You know, we talk about the roof coming off in the sport. We've seen the likes of Honeysuckle over the years and Istabrack and Constitution Hill and many different animals. But if Galloping des Champs were to come back and win the Gold Cup, Christ, wouldn't that be one of the best performances we've ever seen? I don't think it's going to happen myself. I think it's getting a bit long in the tooth. But if it did, would it be one of the best?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Gordon, if Gallopin were to do it, like, I mean, you'd have to drop your hat to him, as they say.
Well, you talk about greats. You know, if he goes, he is a great, and if he goes and does this, he'll be horse to be talking about for a lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, but to be honest, I think it's going to be some race. Because there's only one of 10, and I think there's only one of 10 horses that race could win it.
How hard is it to keep those really good staying chasers sound, to keep coming back like Galloping des Champs?
I suppose unbelievable. Henrietta Knight done it with Best Mate, you know, different times. What Willie's done with Galloping des Champs is unbelievable. I mean, I remember being in Cheltenham a couple of years and absolutely tired won the Gold Cup, and we all walked out of that Friday and says, like, what's going to beat him for the next 2 or 3 years? And we didn't see him again. Gavin's horse when he won it last year, like, I honestly couldn't see what was going to beat him for the next year or two, the way he won it last year. And he just hasn't, for whether it's such a hard race in horses, whether take what it takes out of him, I don't know. I think it wouldn't shock me if this race went across the pond this year. Yeah. What it's going to be, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be 1, 2, 3 for the UK, but it just wouldn't shock me if they won it this year. The Irish horses are kind of beating each other. I've heard the fives and Galloping des Champs have been very good over the last couple of days.
I've heard
days.
The same, yeah.
You know, if he comes back, he's the horse they all have to beat. I know the way you're thinking. I mean, I'd be with Johnny now. Like, listen, I love to see him winning for Gavin, but geez, he's had. You talk about great training performances. If he gets back to win it, like, I don't even know if this would be a great training performance, because I don't know how he'd have got it right. Got to turn this around. Like, he looked like he was all about to pull up when he fell in Leopardstown. But listen, he's a Gold Cup winner. You never know, if he got back there on a bit of dry ground, he could do anything. But I think there's a lot of depth in this race. I think only one of 5 or 6 of them can win it.
Will you run Anton?
I have Firefox in it. He was fourth in the Irish Gold Cup. just whether the 3 mile 2 would really test him. He might be better off at running the Ryanair maybe and sneaking away for a bit of prize money. But again, I have to talk to his owner. To be honest, I'm going to sit back and I don't back horses anyway, but I'm going to sit back and enjoy this race, whether runner or not. I think it's going to be one of the races of the week.
Do you ever watch Don Cossack back?
Sometimes I do. I'm not really one for.
You're here for more for tomorrow than yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I always look forward. I don't. I'm not saying I don't ever look at it, but no.
He was some beautiful horse.
Good looking horse. Listen, he won a Gold Cup for me. Was it 10 years ago now? Was it?
At least I'd say. Yeah,
it's 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
You know, he was a horse for a lifetime, but you know we've a lot of horses through our hands since, and it's very hard. It's very hard to find them.
Johnny Dineen, the Gold Cup 2026.
Yeah, like as everyone knows, it's a murder race, isn't it? Really, any one of 8 or 9. I actually think Galloping des Champs. I think he'll be favourite. I said that to someone the other night. They couldn't believe it. He can't be favourite. I said he will. Just wait and see. The vibes are good, and it's a big public following, and I do think public will get in. Seen it before with Cato Star. They backed him into 3-1 when he was 12 years of age.
Does the public matter though?
Which?
Like in terms of the weight of money on the exchange?
It will at Cheltenham, yeah.
Does it?
It does, yeah. Because it filters back into the exchanges, and that's what happens. It shortens up. They backed Isterback one year when he was going. Remember, he was probably way past his bed into his favourites. But look, I do think they'll get in behind the horse. They'll get in behind something, and I have a feeling it's going to be Galloping des Champs. I'd rather a horse that's having his first go at a Gold Cup. I do think the likes of Django Boy, the Jukebox Man, Spillane's Tower, them kind of horses, something like that might win it. I have a feeling Gaelic Warrior won't win. That's just my gut feeling. I have a feeling
Mullen's dying to ride him anyway.
High Easy Calour won't win.
Might be testing enough for him, would it?
I don't think will he be good enough anyway? Yeah. I'm not sure he will be, Like,
it's a hell of a test, like the amount of jumping in this race, and you have to have speed as well.
Like the fellas are saying, you can draw a line through his running the Bedford Chase, but can you draw a line through the running the Bedford? He's beaten after about 3 fences at the same time, that kind of way. Look, I don't know. There are 3 or 4 horses I don't really fancy any other way. Like, he's coming from such a low base, it's very difficult to see him. There
worst prep imaginable.
About 4 horses out of the 10, but any one of the other 6 is a possibility. Like Grey Dawning has a bit of a chance, but I do think it'll be won maybe by a horse having his first attempt at. I like them kind of horses for Gold Cups rather than ones that are coming maybe doing it a second time. The spirit thought for Keith Dunn, who in fact File turned up here, he conceivably could have been riding another. You're thinking, I have backed him, but it's price related because he is working well apparently. And in fairness, I like a horse that has a finishing kick. Like a lot of the walk in the parks who stayed, they have that class, and he has that. But there's so many ifs and buts.
He still could ride, and Mark could ride. He could ride Jimmy Mangan's horse, could he?
That actually is feasible.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Although I'd say that with the relationship that Kennedy has with Spillane, so I'd say they'll probably leave him on him. And the fact that Mark Walsh rode, I know the way you're thinking last year, I'd say they'll leave him that way, won't they?
Jack was beautiful to watch on him at the last day he rode him at Cheltenham. Got on very well with him. And like Jimmy Mangan to win a Gold Cup would be pretty cool.
Oh, it'd be brilliant. I don't think there'd be anyone in racing who wouldn't like to see Jimmy win this.
One of the good guys.
Yeah. Just how strong the race was the last day in Cheltenham.
Oh, yeah, not nowhere near good enough to win this.
Yeah.
But
he'd be lucky to even beat Grey Dawning.
But still, he didn't know he'd raced the last day.
No, he won well.
He'd done more than a piece of work.
And he's course form now.
Another walk in the park with a finishing kick.
Which is
but I'd say the Cotswold Chase as a rule isn't a great trial for the Cotswold Chase isn't a great trial for the Gold Cup itself. I'm guessing you won't see many winners come out of the Cotswold Chase and win Gold Cups. I mean, it's only just off the top of my head. I can't prove that nor any of that, but it's
okay. Well, if you had to name one, let's get in the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the way Django Boy won the 1965 Chase was so impressive. I thought that he could have potentially won the King George. He was wide a little bit. He was the strongest finisher at the line. He's 2 from 2 at Cheltenham. For me, he's the up-and-coming horse at 7 years old. He'll love a bit of good ground. I think he'll go close.
Johnny Dineen.
Yeah, I kind of am in agreement there with Stephen. I won't be having a bet in the race, but if you force me, I'd go Django Boy.
If you had to have a bet, what would you like in it?
I'd actually, funny enough, I'm going to go with the lads. I just like the attitude of the horse. He doesn't really, he races behind the bridle a little bit, and he stays really well. Ben Pauling's horse, I like him as well. I think
he's a good horse.
Yeah, he jumps brilliant. He's very, very tough.
Harry Redknapp could be celebrating.
Yeah, I just think he could commit too early. That would be the only thing.
Interesting. That can happen to jockeys as well. Like,
a lot of them English lads like kicking on and getting racing very early. And I think Nico would be cute enough. He'd hold on to a bit down the hill. Where I think the Pauling horse just could get racing a little bit early. That'd be the one concern I'd have for him.
Yeah, what a race.
What a race. I'd go with, I know the way you're thinking, but speculative enough. Like, you make a good point there, Gordon, though, as well. Like, a jockey riding at the peak at Cheltenham, it's the 4th day, this could be his day of immortality. You have to take your time and not overreact to the situation. Like,
yeah, I think, look, listen, most lads that ride in them races are world-class jockeys, so I wouldn't be worried too much.
But I suppose adrenaline can get the better of you as well. I suppose one thing Jack Kennedy never, it's always like cool and relaxed.
Yeah, he's a laid-back sort of a chap, so he doesn't panic too much, but sometimes when you get over a big crowd, you do get sucked into it a little bit, and
And the one thing on the gambling front, like Cheltenham is the same as any other meeting. Like, gamble responsibly throughout the week. Like, and you can absolutely ruin Cheltenham by chasing losses and so on. Don't do that. Like, just enjoy the week. I mean, there are 28 odd races, and there'll be plenty of. There could be a good thing in Dundalk on the Friday night. Who knows? Just gamble responsibly. We're going to get the lads' charity bets very shortly, but there is the rest of day 4, the Martin Pipe. I saw the Martin Pipe book here in Gordon's lovely house. Obviously, a race that means a lot to him, meant a lot to him last year and always has meant a lot to him. We have obviously the Hunter's Chase as well, and we have the County Hurdle. Lots to get through there for you on day 4.
Yeah, County Hurdle, I run probably Nadawi and Bones and Fire, both of them up the top of the weight.
Nadawi's some run the last.
Yeah, look, he had a great run the flat the other night. He's in very good form, happy with him. Just whether he could win it with top weight, I wouldn't be sure. Bones and Fire, if you told me he'd be 12 or 14 to 1 for a County Hurdle, I'd have laughed at you, you know what I mean? But he just keeps winning. And I don't know what's left underneath the bonnet with him. He looks brilliant, but he's a horse I don't really trust myself, to be honest. But he's had to win a couple of good pots. The Hunter's Chase I run 2, and I think Chemical Energy's got an each way chance. I hear a lot of good talk for Sam Curling's. The outsider was
wrapped up in May.
Into a nice shorter price.
The outsider. Well, the horse, not the horse that won last year, the other horse. And the Martin Pipe, I'll probably go to run 6 in it. I'm firing everything at it. Probably for when you see a trainer run 6 in it, means I have no woodhoo, to be honest. Just the conditions of the race, it's very, very hard to qualify a horse for them. Last year, Woodhoo got qualified just because she got a setback the year before, and she ended up staying hurdling, or her mark wasn't exposed, I suppose. I'll run 6 in it. Wait and see what the ground's like. The 6 will be trying for life on you.
Yeah, for his old boss Martin Pipe. And I started to joke for Charles Burns, that Bones on Fire form. I really like that horse. I'm not entirely sure where he'll run. What do you like the handicaps, Johnny, on day 4?
There are 2 handicap hurdles. They're 2 difficult. I actually think if a fella had no bet in the handicap hurdle at Cheltenham, he'd be doing himself a favour anyway.
But this is an important point. Like, people are at Cheltenham, you have to have a bet in every race. You don't, like, or if you want to have a bet, keep it small in those handicaps.
Yeah, I think so. I do think the handicap hurdles, you have a better chance of winning, in my opinion, in a handicap chase, but because the horses are more exposed. A lot of dead wood in them races, but I do think handicap hurdles. I think it's on the line the second 3 times in the Fox Hunters. Just might be his year.
Might get up on the line.
He'll be placed in here probably when there's something he might touch him off, whatever. But I do think he's not bad price each way, about 6 or 7 to 1.
We're really looking forward to this now. We're going to get the naps from like hundreds of horses, but before that, Blogger, the handicaps, Stephen Power.
Yeah,
give us the power.
Just the one opinion there, Johnny, in the County Hurdle. Hello Neighbour, off a 148 for Gavin. 6th to Poneros in the Triumph.
Had him at 33s
Gavin must
last
be giving
year.
you free training for these horses, is it? You've tipped up everyone.
He's going to be top trainer already.
You must be getting free training.
They looked well there, Gordon. They looked well.
I had him at 33s each way last year. He didn't get up the hill.
He didn't get up the hill, but off a 148, I think he's definitely in with a big squeak. He's been backed in from 33s again this year. Are you on?
I'm not. No, another son of hers, and maybe so. And it'll be intriguing to see what Irish trainers like Gavin and Henry, they've sort of had slightly in and out years, but let's see next week. I'd say it'll all be reports of their demise. It'll be very much exaggerated.
I suppose the big question here is whether or not Charisma gets in for the run. She's going to run in the William Hill on Saturday. If she gets a penalty, will she scrape in?
She was winning Sandown first in the same time.
Yeah.
Like she's 7-2 in Sandown. She's only 8-1. We'd rather be back in Sandown.
Mental, eh?
Yeah.
So our naps go to we'll start with let's start with the Blogger actually, and any winnings go to Racing Welfare, so we're delighted with that, and it's 100 quid sterling charity bet. We'll work out the prices in due course, but okay, let's start with you.
Are you looking for a banker at a meeting or?
Well, I think with the charity bets, you're better go for a bigger price, in my view.
We'll go Munzif in the Fred Winter.
Good shout. We'll see, that's give or take around 10 to 1.
I'll go Meet Me by the Sea in the Jack Richards Novice Chase,
Interesting. That's another nice price. Gordon Elliot.
Who's giving us the charity bet?
It's Racing Welfare.
Yeah, but who's giving
PricedUp.
Yeah, well, seeing as I've given my kitchen here today to have the preview, I'm looking for another 100, 200.
Done.
So I'm going to have 100 each way treble on Keeping Company in the bumper, Old School Outlaw in the Mayor's Novice, and Fabio de Shampoo in the cross country.
Would you Adam and Eve it? He doesn't have a bet, but he's not only had it he's had one bet, he's turned it into an each way bet. He's double his stake, and it's an each way treble.
Look, to be honest, I could
Love
give
it.
one horse, but like for when it's for a charity like that, you try and make it a bit juicy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just the three of them are
People will watch this and they'll say Gordon has put up 3 horses there, nice prices, and I know it's
I could be boring and give you a tea poo or something like
it's
that.
a glib thing to say, but you would be happy with one winner in a way, wouldn't you? It's just at least to get, because last year,
This you're always happy to get a winner in Cheltenham, as you know. You see what happened to me last year. We hit the crossbar all week and then got a winner the last race of the day. If I was only to get one winner, I'd like to get it early rather than late.
And then relax.
Yeah. Look, it's a great place, and we all know, like, my horses ran well last year, but we just didn't get the bounce of the ball. But I do feel, listen, I'm hoping to have a couple of winners. I do feel that we've a better calibre of horses. We've got, we're probably getting back to the type of horse we had 17 and 18, last year my 2 bankers going over were Woodhoo and Tiapu. Tiapu got better, depending on handicappers out from that. And as Johnny Dineen says as a punter, like you could sit back and have a bet and no handicap in Cheltenham is so competitive. So trying to nap a yoke in a handicap is very, very hard.
If you could train one horse from any other yard, back to far.
And my last question for you, have you matured such that you take the losses and the victories a bit easier than when you were younger?
Listen, I never really got up or down too much over winning and losing. But listen, it's a great game, and you have to be able to lose graciously. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, anyone can win, but when you lose, you have to keep your head up. I mean, last year, the week we had in Cheltenham, like, there's no place like it. I love it over there. But like, nothing went right for us. With seconds, third seconds. You know what I mean? Like, but that's what makes you appreciate it when you do get a winner at the end of it all.
And losing gracefully that's a very good point. And I was coming out to the train, Roscommon.
It's not easy sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. God, and he has a punter and as anything, like as a footballer, as anything. No, because especially when you were so close.
I remember, I suppose, the year Willie beat me in the trainer championship in Punchestown, you're going in and everyone, you nearly think that you're there, like, but still you're. And I remember, I think one of the first races we won the storyteller won the Novice Chase. Remember, a couple of horses ran out.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
And we ended up winning the Novice Chase and thinking, this is my week. But from there on in, Willie just won everything. And
Paul Town did treble the next day, didn't he? Grade 1 treble, I think.
Everywhere you go like that, you have a camera in your face, like, and you just have to.
Yeah.
I probably learned from there, like, you have to.
And that was before smartphones, nearly, like, but like everyone was.
But it's this is a great position to be in, but I think to be able to lose graciously is more important than to celebrate when you win.
Great words. And that trainer's title in 2026 is still very much up in the air, by the way. Just saying. And I was coming out of Roscommon train station the other day, and who was there with Brian Keenan, veteran bookmaker, and he was like a child looking forward to Cheltenham. And I love that. Like, it's Cheltenham. Cheltenham is magic, Johnny. Shall people come up and say hello to you next week? You're personal type of guy.
We'd take a chances. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it myself now because it's haven't been at that game for 5 or 6 years.
What pitch are you on? In the pitch walking down where the horses walk out, or in the middle of the track?
I think you have an option of going down there, or staying up on top where number 1 in the rails. I think I'm not so sure which way they'll go.
I think the lad used to be Graham's, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Graham's used to be
down there.
Yeah, we used to see them walking out. When you walked in the track, you'd always see them there. So,
I think from my little knowledge of what it is that if you want to be guaranteed to win money, you go down to the lower rail. Yeah. If you want to stick your chest out and have a go and maybe risk losing, you go up on top. I think they're going to stick your chest out.
You'll be up top.
I think so. I think so.
Blogger, you're going to have a great week and then on to Friday, which will be in the sun and all that.
Yeah, first time going to Benidorm, been roped into going over there. It will be interesting. There's a lot of talk about it on social media. Lads going out there for a cheap vacation, sit there drinking beer all day for 300 quid for the week. So I'm going to go and blog it. Everyone will see what it's really like. Before that, I'll be in Cheltenham from Monday onwards, and it's what we all live for. This is our biggest week of the year, and we're going to see some great racing, and I can't wait. I'm rubbing my hands, Johnny.
Thanks a million, lads. A very good panel today, I think, if I do say so myself. Thanks to Callum for setting us up, and that was PricedUp.bet's Cheltenham preview for 2026. Unbelievably, it is upon us.